All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Welcome to the Hot Drinks Podcast. I'm thrilled to be joined by Marianne Alexander today. How are you doing today, Marianne?
Good. It's quite warm in Ottawa right now. Warm
It
for us
is.
Canadians
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. And maybe we should have delayed this interview for like another 6 months and we could have done it in person.
Yeah, totally. That'd be way better.
That's right. You're the first interview in the same city that I'm actually in. So maybe the follow-up interview we'll do in person, and that'll be
Yeah.
much fun. And we'll have a few drinks and enjoy our time post COVID.
And it's because of this podcast that I actually recognized you and ran into you on that trail.
That is so funny. Yeah, for folks obviously don't know, we kind of heard of each other's names, like a lot of people at NOLS over the years, but we'd never met in person. And I was out for a hike with my kids one day, and she was out for a hike with her kids one day, and we were walking along, and I think I had an old NOLS Gore-Tex jacket on,
Yeah.
one of the Gore-Tex donors, and yeah, he spotted me and I guess recognized my face, and my kids thought I was a celebrity.
Yeah.
They're like, Dad, she knows your podcast. As far as they're concerned, there's two people that listen to my podcast. That's like me and my mom. There might be a few more than that, but yeah, that was funny. It was great. I'm so glad we met in. And then I was telling my kids today that I'm going to be interviewing you, and you're like, is that the ones we played hide and seek with on the trail that day?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. And I look forward to kind of getting post COVID and connecting some more and maybe doing some camping trips and hanging out a bit more.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. Let's hear your favorite hot drink in the field. What is your
Ooh.
go-to hot drink?
Definitely coffee. Coffee's always
Yeah.
been my weakness for sure. I used to like, I even think I had a quote was like, I don't trust anyone who doesn't drink coffee.
Right. So is that coffee all the time, or like when you get in, like, do you stop at noon, or do you go to the decaf then, or you just,
It's funny. I'm a 1 cup in the morning kind
okay.
of person. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the evening, no hot drinks?
In the evening, I'll have a cup of tea too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do tea sometimes, or I love Bengal spice tea with milk.
Mm.
That's like my one
All right.
go-to
That's pretty
for
good.
sure.
So no coffee all day long.
No,
Okay.
no, I get too jittery. Even if I
Right.
have more than one, I'm like, ah.
Right on. Any particular brand? Were you one of those instructors that had like coffee mailed to you or a branch ahead of time?
That's a good one. No, like I you didn't used to be a coffee snob,
Yeah.
but I didn't like flavored coffee.
Mm.
And there's always those trips where you're like, oh, the ice, like the CL has the coffee for us, great, awesome, and you get out there and it's like hazelnut flavored coffee, and I was like, oh,
Oh
why did I
no.
trust this person? So
Right.
I would say I just like black coffee with a bit of milk generally on a trip. And now my husband didn't drink coffee, so I met Steve on my
Yeah.
IC, which I'll mention later on. But
Hmm.
he wasn't a coffee drinker, and I used to tease him because I was like, I don't trust you, you don't drink coffee. And slowly over the years he has just drank coffee,
Oh.
and he's now a coffee snob, like
Oh
complete
really? Oh
only
wow.
espresso with foam milk, to the point where wherever we go away for the weekend, we have to bring all the coffee
Oh
accoutrements
really?
with us. And now when we go camping, same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Look what you've created.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's get into your first story. A Canadian in the Southwest and a bear rolls over the groover. So this is yeah, coming up on our second week of groover stories. I think it's going to be the theme of June for the Hot Drinks podcast. Yeah, let's hear this.
Awesome. So this was actually on my IC. So like I would say like the first some of
IC's
the first,
instructors course for those
yeah.
folks who haven't picked up on that yet. For
Yeah.
for Knowles.
The first section of our, and I was doing a river IC, so it's fairly early in the spring. I think it's in like May. So the water is not totally that warm yet. And we're heading down Desolation Canyon. The first section was our canoeing section. And we must have been like halfway through that canoeing session, because you bring two groovers on it. You got to pack out everything you pack in this area. So,
So folks who missed our last episode, maybe just describe your groover.
so the groover is like this big silver box that you pull a lid off and you throw a toilet seat on, and it's your bathroom, it's your toilet, and it collects everything. You got to bring it home and clean it out at the end. So usually, depending on, there's like, I don't know what the math is on it, but the number of people and number of days
Right.
equals how many groovers you got to bring to make sure you're able to pack everything out safely and cleanly. So we must have been about halfway through the trip, because we got to crack open a new groover that night. So
Oh.
for that. And that's always exciting, especially to open a new one, get to be the first one to use it, or like,
it's the little things, right?
yeah. And so it was sitting on the beach, and like the old one, the full one was on the beach. The new one was set up somewhere in private in the woods somewhere.
All right. So just had you had experienced the Groover before? Like obviously you had a lot of paddling experience, but not probably in the Southwest in this style camping.
That's awesome. No, there
Okay.
were so many things that I learned as a Canadian on this trip that I look back and just laugh so hard on. One of them
Right.
being like, so my instructors were like another Canadian, like Janie Ringham was my
Oh,
instructor.
okay. Yeah.
Tucker Rayner, who's been on here,
Yeah.
Stowbeam, and Polk.
Okay.
And I remember, like, you know, I'm like this Canadian, I'm supposed to have experience, but I don't really know anything about the desert Southwest. I'm from Ontario, where it's humid.
Right.
And you know, like, you trip, you don't get anything wet ever.
Right.
And if it's wet, like, you're wet for days. And you should bring an extra pair of everything, because if it gets wet, basically you're never wearing it again.
Right.
And so anyway, so as we're going along, it starts pouring rain, and I'm like, self-care, I like grab my raincoat, throw it on, and I'm sweating in my raincoat. And I look around and no one else has their raincoat on. And I'm like, not even Janie, who I'm like,
Right.
I've worked with her before. Like, what? And then the rain stops, and it's like bone dry within 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, right, we're in the desert. You don't need your raincoat.
Right.
So, anyway, so just like lots of little things. I'd never used a Groover before, no. So
Okay.
learning about it, the smell of it, all that stuff was all new to me. But anyway, so I think I was on cooking that night. So I was in the kitchen, like cleaning it up and putting everything away. And a lot of us on our IC like to sleep out under the stars. So we had lined up our sleeping bags, or a bunch of them had, on the beach there. And the Groover wasn't that far away. The beach wasn't that big. And I actually have the map right here. So I was like, where were we?
Yeah.
And I opened up the map, and it was at Cedar Ridge. And
All
it's
right.
like this wash. And you can see my husband, Steve, actually wrote like bear attack IC
No way.
right on it.
That's great.
And anyways, so, and it's this like wash where there's a campsite on one side of the bend on the river, and there's another site on the other side. And we stopped at the top of it, done a bunch of throw bag work that day, and then I was on cooking, so I was cooking dinner and getting the food, and then I was cleaning it up, and I was like, I'm gonna make cinnamon buns for breakfast. So I started making the dough, and of course, like, I always bring the dough into my tent to kind of warm it up overnight and keep it ready for the next morning. So I brought it into the tent, and I was just like, and I was up late, so I was just falling asleep, and some people were outside sleeping, and I hear this like, hey bear, hey bear, hey bear. And I was like, whoa, anybody knows, like, you don't yell hey bear unless there's actually a bear.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that sounds like all our instructors. Weird. So they come into the center of camp, because I could hear them way out in the woods, like they were meeting or something. Came in, and they're like, hey everybody, there's a bear in camp. We want everyone to be out here and gather in the center of camp. And we're like,
wow,
okay.
What time is
like,
this about?
I was like, is this a real bear? Is this a drill? Like,
Right.
what are we
Yeah.
doing? And it's a little cooler because I'd been outside doing some stuff. So I threw on some extra clothes, and we're in the desert, so it's nighttime, so it's a little cooler. And I come out, and they're just like, there is a bear in camp. We got to get together and figure out what we're gonna do. And I was like, okay.
So you're in Utah. I haven't been down this river. So you're in Utah, and it can't be that steep of a canyon if a bear's getting down there. Just kind of describe the scenery at that point.
Yeah, it's like Desolation Canyon on the Green River, and it's like pretty wide washes out to the canyon walls. It's not that deep, but yeah, bears can. And the other side of the river was pretty flat at that point. I remember it was a brig. I think there's like a First Nation reserve on the other side. So I remember knowing that you can't camp on that side of the river, because I do remember at one point someone saying, well, let's ferry across the river and camp on the other side. And I was like, oh, like, I guess it's an emergency. I guess we could go over there, but I'm also like ferrying above a rapid at night. Like, I'm like, what are we thinking? Like, and my brain is like, every time I've run into a black bear, like, I don't know if you've had this experience being in Canada, but like you know, we have a black bear sniff your vestibule, you yell boo, and it's gone. Like, you never see it again. Like,
yeah, it's not used to people running the places we go up here.
Yeah, like any bear encounter I've had has been like, boo, it's gone, like whatever, no big deal. And so I'm thinking, like, what is the big deal? And then we start hearing these yelling and screaming in the distance of a big group yelling, hey bear, and screaming, and we hear a big bear banger go off.
This is another party on the thing, but not a part of your group.
Yeah, another group at the other campsite. So if you the picture
Okay.
here,
Yeah. But
where
not
is
a
it?
NOLS group, not part of
Yeah,
your
we're at
instructor.
this camp and
Yeah.
they're at this camp on the other side here.
Okay.
So like we're basically chasing this bear
All right.
across this back and forth. And so it was over there and then it came over towards us and we're all gathered talking about how we're going to get some gear and get some more clothes for people, move down the wash so that we can be closer to the water. Maybe we're going to go across the river. We don't know what we're doing. We're all kind of like firing ideas out there. We're kind of in the kitchen area. And when you're rafting, you have a huge kitchen, it's like better than car camping, it's like tables. We grab all the big spoons and pots and we're ready to make a lot of noise. And the bear comes over kind of along the back of camp and comes up the beach where all the sleeping bags were and the groover.
Is he kind of
And
trapped on this beach? Is it that steep of walls, or can he get an exit out of there if he needs to?
there's a wash. So we're like, there's a river coming in there. So it could go way up
Okay.
there. There's an
Okay.
exit there. Yeah. So it's coming towards us and we were just kind of watching it, making some noise. And then it really loves the groover. It grabs the groover. It's smelling it. It's like, oh, this is awesome.
No.
I'm sure. It was like gross. Full groover. And it
Oh,
manages to unclasp. So they have those hooks around the top, like the clasp around the top,
right.
keeping the lid on. And it manages to undo.
No way.
And I'm just like,
Oh,
oh my gosh,
what's gonna
imagine
happen?
this thing, like we're gonna have crap all over the place, all over everybody's sleeping bags. Like, what are we gonna do? And
So how would the sleeping bag get so close to it?
so we had slept on the beach. So people just laid there. Like this is before bear protocols on the river. Like I think that things changed after this. So
All right.
we would just sleep under the stars and the groover and all the gear that we weren't using were just kind of, it's a fairly small beach there.
Okay.
We're up over by the boats and then we just had laid sleeping bags just kind of not that far.
Okay.
And it grabbed the groover and was rolling it down.
Oh, so he was moving it.
And as it's rolling, it gets the clasp open. The clasp is off. And I was like, oh my gosh, the whole thing's going to dump and roll all over the place.
Is this pitch black now, or is this like dusk, or what?
It was dark. It was midnight. At least.
But you could.
I remember.
Oh, really? You had flashlights. You could see what was happening.
Yeah, we had lights on it, and luckily the heat and then maybe the change in the temperature had suction cupped that lid onto it, so it never came off.
Oh wow!
But it tried, and then I think it got bored and it came towards us, and I remember this bear coming towards us, and it lunged at us, and I remember seeing his teeth, and we were like 14 or 16 of us, like standing up, screaming and yelling and hitting pots and pans as loud as we could, and it didn't even care.
Really?
And that's when I was like, oh wow, we got like, it is actually a big problem. And I don't remember what happened in that time. I think eventually he wandered back away. Like he never bolted away. He was just like, whatever. And I'm assuming it's a male bear because I think I remember hearing about it afterwards, but it wandered back towards the other camp and we moved down the wash and decided to like take whatever we had on us, split it amongst us to stay warm enough. And we just huddled by the water and tried to sleep. And we had, I think our instructors were rotating to stay awake for when this bear would maybe come back.
No.
I remember we were all kind of just asleep. And I remember this zombie moment. I never forget this like visual in my head where I don't know who was on watch, but someone yelled, "Hey bear!" And the bear was literally walking towards our whole group was just laid in bun like on top of each other, just trying to stay warm and get a bit of sleep on this rock pile. And I just remember all of us were in this slumber, half sleep state, and we all like kind of get up, our flashlights are on, and we're like, "Hey bear, hey bear, hey bear!" And then someone yells, "It's gone!" And then we all just like flop back down again. And this just like happened overnight as we're chasing this bear back and forth. And anyway, it was a long, long night. And in the morning,
where was your food at this point, and why didn't he get into that?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, at this point, we didn't know at this point. And I'm thinking like probably all of our food is everywhere. But it turns out that it's funny because the guy that was at the other camp, the leader of the other camp, walked over and I forget what their group was. It was a guy who I think NOLS knows a bit quite well. Like he knew NOLS, knew we had a sat phone, came over to borrow our phone because the bear had actually come too close to one of their students and had got some pretty good gashes in his legs. No. So they had built a huge fire that they were standing around, and the bear lunged at them, and I guess he turned and dropped to the ground and started kicking as much as he could, and it got a few scratches in his legs. So they were, and he said to us that he almost always carries a rifle with him, but he didn't this trip. And he loaded like his bear banger, like a triple bear banger, and shot it in the chest, and it did not move. Like it was like, whatever. So they needed to get this kid out. So they came to use our sat phone, but he came carrying a zip bag full of food. And ironically, it was the instructors team's zip bag full of all of their candy, which I was like,
You had no idea at that point.
I had no idea that we could bring our own bag of candy, right? So in my mind, I'm like, oh, you suckers, you lost all your candy. And the bear had eaten it all and dragged it out into the woods. And
oh, wow.
So it didn't actually get a bunch of our food, just had gotten that bag. And anyway, it came back. So they used our sat phone. The kid was okay, just they needed to get him some medical attention. So they bolted to the takeout, and we packed up everything and got out of there. I don't even think we had breakfast there. I think we just like packed up and got out. And I think I was even a leader of the day, and I remember just being like, oh man, like today will be okay. Like, you know, like the day after something, you got enough energy, you're riding that wave, and like the next day we're gonna totally crash. But, we made it down. I think we paddled down to, I don't know, past this rapid called Machine Gun. I remember being like, oh, everyone's so tired, we're all gonna bail, we're gonna be resting in canoes. Like, and I'm leader of the day. I'm like, okay, I'm like trying to set it up so that we don't all like, it's just a tricky ferry angle where these two waters come together, and everyone made it through totally fine. And I was like, and we just like, basically all of us just got downriver, and we left a note at that campsite. I remember being like, do not camp here.
Oh, wow. Did you ever go back to that spot?
Oh yeah, I went back because that was my IC, and I went down there quite a few more times after that, and every time I just have like these visions of,
right. Did you ever camp there again?
Pardon me?
Did you ever camp there again?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But no other bear experiences?
No. And it's funny because like I'm not actually that concerned about bears because I've had so many incidences where it doesn't matter, that's so rare. Whereas Steve, who was on that IC, who's my husband now, he's still, when we go out with the kids, he's still quite nervous about bears. He's like, oh no, I don't need a bear coming in here. It's affected him slightly different, I'd say.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, you never know. They're so unpredictable. And I think in the lower 48 in the US, they're used to more people encounters than they are kind of up here in the north in Canada. Definitely. So it's they're even more unpredictable. You know, people always talk about, oh, you go out with the grizzlies in Alaska and the Yukon. I was like, yeah, I'd rather see a grizzly in Alaska or the Yukon than a bear in Yosemite. That's like knows how to get into your car.
Yeah. And I actually, that's another story. I had a quick one about seeing a grizzly in the Yukon. So I was lucky enough to be like, I wanted to get checked off to be a hiking instructor. I'd done all these river courses, and Brendan Madden was working out of the Yukon, and there was a hiking trip going out kind of like just before I think I was scheduled to work another river trip up there. It's like, why don't you come up early? We'll fly you out on one of the rations. You can work the ration. Fly back out. And I was like, that is the best way.
Sounds great to me.
I've ever heard of to get checked off for a hiking instructor. So, we load up all the bags, the ration up into the float plane. I get this beautiful float plane ride out to this beautiful lake where
Where was this course?
Good question. I actually have no idea. It was somewhere in the Yukon because I never actually worked a hiking trip in the Yukon afterwards.
No way. This is just like, yeah, I'll take a trip.
Totally. I'm totally embarrassed to admit that. I didn't even think about that until you asked me that. That's hilarious. Like, I don't know. I was just like, sweet. This is awesome.
Right. Along for the ride.
I worked all my hiking courses in India and out of Lander. So,
right. Wow.
And in the canyons. So anyway, so we were hiking. I get in there, bring them the food. I'm of course this instructor, random person that brings them all this food. They're like, sweet. And it's, I think this is the semester in the Yukon that's going on. So we're hiking the first.
So you would have been in the Coast Range Mountains, kind of south of Whitehorse.
Yes, that sounds right. Yeah, thanks.
I've done a few courses in that area.
And we're hiking up this, like, up out of this little valley. I think it must have been day 1 or day 2. And I'm just kind of reading the maps, kind of getting used to the feel of like, looking around you and trying to ID what, like where I am and what stuff is, as you kind of get used to that as you're in a new area. And we're hiking up out of this little valley, and we had chosen this X kind of up and over the tundra, and we were going to drop down where like these 2 rivers came together and camp kind of down at that confluence, and the next day head up and go over this beautiful saddle. And I was like, awesome. So we get through there, a nice day of like hiking through the tundra, and we get up to the top, and we can kind of eyeball down to our X's. And the students at this point were leaders of the day, so they were kind of deciding which they wanted to stop and just do one more map check before we headed down into our X. And I was like, awesome. So we're sitting there looking at the maps, and the wind is blowing up the hill at us, and the maps are blowing in the wind, and they're pretty loud. And all of a sudden I hear this loud noise from these students, hey bear. And I was like, whoa, like stop. I was like, grab the maps. I get them to stop blowing everyone. I'm like, everyone stop talking. And we can just hear in the distance these people yelling.
So this is one of the other hiking groups from your course?
So there's a group ahead of us, we're the middle group, and there's one more group behind us.
Okay.
So we're kind of like moving along. And I was like, okay, there's a bear down there, and I'm just sitting there. I look, and Pascal was the other instructor that I was working with that day.
All right.
He's gonna kill me for telling this story. So I was just like, hang on, like there's probably a bear. There's actually a bear down there. And so we stop, we listen, we hear, and we just all like slow motionly look like down towards where we hear the sound from, where our X is. And we just slowly see this grizzly bear, like, it's like, it was almost in slow motion, like coming up. We see its head out of the tundra and then back down. And it's bolting uphill.
It's running.
Like,
no way.
Because they had spooked it.
Oh, he's just getting out of Dodge. Towards
us. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I see this bear, we see it coming up, and I'm thinking like, there's like 4 or 5 of us. Like we were a small little group. I'm like, put your backpack in front of you, poles up in the air, and we're like hitting and yelling and screaming as loud as we can. And it's not hearing us or seeing us because the wind is coming up its back towards us, and our voices are behind us. And I'm just thinking, I'm playing the tape forward, going like, it can't hear us, it can't see us yet. We're gonna chase this grizzly back towards the other group where it just came from. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of
us
like,
versus them.
Yeah. I'm like, oh dear. So and I'm laughing because Pascal is now behind me, like literally grabs the bear spray, and he has it down, and he's crunching behind me, screaming. And I'm like, stand up.
You're the aid instructor. We could sacrifice you. Oh.
And this bear like comes within 200 meters or less of us, and it just does this. I just remember seeing it doing this 2-step. It was like it heard us and saw us.
Right.
And it looked up, and I was like, keep yelling. And we yell and scream, and then it just looks, stops, and then it just bolts down to the valley, like just opposite, like T from where we're going. I was like,
okay. So a different direction than the other group too.
Different direction. Wow. I knew it was going. It was gone. It was not going to come back. We had scared it out of this territory. And the first thing, as I'm like, oh wow, we take a deep breath, and the students like, look at this, I got some awesome photos of this bear, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Like, I have one instructor behind me, one kid on the ground taking photos. I'm like, who was up here yelling this bear out with me? Anyway, it was quite the incident. So we ended up deciding to camp a little higher up out of that valley that night, but
I bet. How close did the other group get to it, or did they spook it, or did they have a close encounter? The first group that saw it.
Yeah, they were down. I think had 2 of them had gone just down to the river to get some water, and that's where the 2 kids had seen it, and they had yelled and then got together and screamed it up towards us. So it wasn't very long that it was a quick spook for them and a quick spook for us. But.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Like the grizzlies up there, they're just not used to seeing people. Like they don't want anything to do with us.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a section or a time where in that area, the same area where the students were on their independence traveling on their own. And so it was just me and the 2 instructors hiking away, having a beautiful day. And then we saw a grizzly probably 300 or 400 meters off in the distance, maybe even a bit further. And he was just eating away, and we just sat in the tundra with binoculars and watched it for a half an hour. It was
Yeah.
one of the most incredible experiences, because most other times I've encountered them, I've had students around and you got to get it out of there. But we're like,
Yeah.
shh, let's just watch.
Yeah.
And
I got to do that. I did a personal trip on the mountain river with a bunch of NOLS women like Pipco and Altenberg and Betsy Treadway,
nice.
a few others,
Yeah.
and we had some really neat encounters just watching grizzlies too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing just watching it, and then just meandered away. So we went over there, and like the steam come off the poop. Like,
Yeah, and
it's
that's how it should be. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's good to encounter them at a distance.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. I love that. I love a good bear story. Okay, walking down the Peel
Yeah.
River. Sorry.
It's the Peel actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was it. That was oh man. So that was I don't remember what year it was. It might have been 2006 or maybe even 5. I don't know. I paddled the Bonnet Plume. And that river, like getting that course is like, wow, I felt so honored to be able to run that river. Like as a Canadian to run the Bonnet Plume, it's like that's on your bucket list. And it was an interesting course because it was an older aged course. So I think we had like, it was 16 and up or 18 and up. And so we had the whole range from like, I think a 16 or 18-year-old all the way through to this woman turned 50 on the course. And she'd bought the trip for herself for her 50th birthday present. And I remember reading that and I was like, we got to go get some stuff for this lady's birthday. We got to drag it out there. And it was great. We had a couple different age ranges. So it was definitely like a difficult course to work because of the age range and the different places where people were in their life. But it was definitely exciting to run that trip. And you fly into Bonnet Plume Lake, this beautiful little lake, and then you get like one day on a creek to kind of warm up with your whitewater skills. And we do a bit of whitewater prior to even flying up there in town. And
okay. I didn't know that.
Which is kind of a really neat progression.
Yeah.
So our kids were already knew quite a lot, like knew how to ferry and some rescue and a lot of that stuff. And then you drop into the Bonnet Plume and you're pretty much right in Rock Slide Canyon. So a big rock slide had happened there years ago and the river's been slowly carving it out, but it's pretty continuous for about 20 kilometers right at the beginning of that river. And you're pretty deep in not a huge canyon, not like Desolation Canyon or the Grand Canyon or anything, but it's like it's harder to get in and around in the terrain up there. So unfortunately, I remember we had like a canoe dump early on in that canyon, and we lost one of our students had to get evac'd on that trip. So he hurt his knee. Yeah, which was a helicopter evac up there was it's definitely not the first thing you want. But
you said they hurt their knee?
Yeah, he but when you're whitewater paddling, you tuck your knees under the seat, and he had just tucked his funny and came out funny and did something wacky to his knee. It was unfortunate. But other than that, it was really an uneventful course, like really a lot of hard work, long days. I was working it with Jeff Carty and Mark Holloway, who both
nice. Mark's on the deck, and I've been in communication with Jeff. He's a non-committal at this point.
Awesome. Well, you'll have to ask Mark's version of this.
Okay. We'll have to get that.
So, and Carolina Cortez was on there too.
Oh,
like an instructor training. It was back when I don't know if they're still doing it, but they, had them, instead of taking the IC, you just took part on different courses and learned. So totally competent and learning all the whitewater skills from us. It was super great. Anyways, so we're paddling along pretty like really long, hard days. And Jeff and Mark are both like over 6 feet tall and eat a lot of food. And I remember like I'm a bit of a bird eater. I'll eat a little bit all day, and I can get food stress. So I remember, and I knew that those guys would eat all of my leftovers. So you know how you make enough food and everyone gets one bowl, and then there's a little bit of seconds for everybody. But I would never be that hungry. I'd usually save it in my container for lunch the next day. But these guys were so hungry, like, Marianne, you gonna eat that? Marianne, I'm like, are you really hungry? And they're like, yeah, we're starving. Like, we were working hard. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So they always ate all the food. And to the point where they'd see me sneaking my snacks, like, Marianne, you gonna share that? To the point where now I'm food stressed because I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are eating all of my secret food stashes, like my savior on trip or my secret food stashes. Anyway, so we are running out of food to the point where like Jeff Carty and we're fishing every night trying to be like, we need more food. And we are stressed. So we're like fishing as much as we can to supplement the instructor food bin. At one point, I think near the like getting closer to the Peel. So you run the bonnet plume, and often like a lot of the outfitters up there, they'll get flown off at the confluence of the bonnet plume and the Peel River. So the bonnet, you have like the Peel you have the Wind and the bonnet plume and the Snake kind of all run into the Peel watershed, and then if you want to drive home, you paddle all the way to Fort McPherson and then you drive back. But outfitters will often fly off of this bar. I forget whether it's called Burrito Bar or Taco Bar, one of those two. That's right there. And so we were getting down to there, and I think we even like borrowed some food from one of the...
For people that flying off, the bar would be like a sandbar that the plane can land on, not an actual bar. Because you are extremely, extremely remote at this point, like in the remotest part of the north or of the Yukon Territory.
Totally. Okay. And by bar, it's like the float plane lands and kind of paddles into the sandbar and like you go,
Right. Okay.
Anyways, so we're getting close to there, and when you
are you above the Arctic Circle at this point, or is it around?
That's a good point. I have the map pulled up. I'm not sure.
I think you are. You are. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think you pass it somewhere.
Yeah. So extremely remote.
I'll have to look that up, actually. That's a good question. Anyway, so we are getting close to the Peel River, where it's exciting for everybody because it's the point where we let the students run the Peel River independently, and instructors get to like sit back, and it's like big tradition to build a big raft that you can float on down this river. Right. And so we get to this spot, and I think we even might have stole some food, not stole, but like asked, like put some food together from the students' instructor bag or their food bags, and we're like, can we like take a little, like, you guys gonna eat that? You know,
right. You don't need that bulgur, do you?
Yeah, totally. We're like, we do. And so we get to the bar, and it's where you set all the kids up, and we're dividing them into two groups. And I think it's about a 3 or 4 day paddle. I can't remember, downriver up to Fort McPherson, where our pickup spot is. And so they're traveling on their own. We get them all set up, and they take off probably just like a little after lunch that day. And we're like, don't go past like kilometer 100 today. We need to see you within like 24 hours or whatever. Just wait there for us. And the river flows. The Peel River at this point is flowing like 10 kilometers an hour. So you could sit in your canoe and float downstream and do nothing and get down, which is pretty awesome. So when you actually paddle, you can make a lot of miles. And so we're there, and we say goodbye, and we're just all like, right on. Like, you take your deep breath. You're like, students are gone, and we're.
So you're ahead of them or behind them?
They're leaving before us.
Oh, all right.
So we're sending them down, and then this is when it's tradition, kind of, on this area where instructors build a raft.
Yeah.
To float this river section on. So we take our canoes, and we're lashing them together, and Jeff Carty and Mark Holloway get like super into it and get it all perfect. And we're lashing the boats together, getting wood and a flagpole. And I wish I had pictures. Like, I'm sure if you just reached out to people, like there are several versions of these rafts that exist.
Yeah, and I think Rebecca sent us one where she's
awesome.
She's making popcorn, I think, on one.
Yeah. You put a deck on it, so you like lash your stove right on it. And you're just like living on it, and it's awesome. You're sipping coffee as you go along. And so we're like, great. And right before we're leaving, this big outfitter group shows up on the bar. And they're like, hey, we got too much weight to fly off. Like, do you guys need some food? And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, yeah, do you really need to get rid of it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, we want all of it. Like, we want all of it. And I'm like, yes.
We're not carrying anything. We need this.
Oh, they handed over like full on unused charcuterie board stuff, like logs and logs of salami meats and cheese and freeze dried strawberries and fancy flowers. And we're like, oh my gosh. We're like, thank goodness, because I don't think we would have made it to the pickup.
Wow.
Like, I don't know.
That's incredible.
So we get all this food, and we are chowing on this food, and we're just so excited.
The students are gone at this point. They don't know this
students are
rendezvous happened.
I have no idea. And thank goodness, because we were not sharing.
Right.
And so we hop on our raft and we're floating down. And we leave kind of late, like a little later. I'm like kind of like getting a little nervous. I'm like, we should probably get going. Like we gotta see these kids tonight. It's like 5 or 6. It doesn't get dark there ever, but
Right.
it gets a little dusky around 1:30 in the morning. So we're cruising along, and I remember like midnight, and we're at like maybe, I don't know, 80 or 90, and we still hadn't seen any of our students.
Wow. Were you planning to camp that night, or were you just gonna float on the barge?
We were planning to camp. At this point, we're like, I don't know if we're camping.
Had you passed the spot where they were supposed to be?
They were supposed to be within 100, not past the 100-kilometer mark. So
okay,
we were like,
but you didn't know their X. They were going to select that.
I think we knew their X, and I think we passed it, and we couldn't
Okay.
find any of them. We're like, where are they?
Oh.
We're like, interesting. We weren't really worried, but we were like, interesting. So we kept going. We're like, well, we can't stop. Like, we got to go till we find them.
Yeah, because the idea was you were going to leapfrog them. You were going to say hi and keep going and camp somewhere nearby.
Yeah, camp, and then they would get up past us. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's how you see them and not worry about them the next day. So,
Right.
So I don't even actually remember if we saw them that day. Like I remember paddling and like falling asleep while paddling. Like I remember sitting and just being like, I can't do this anymore. And I think we must have seen them, because I remember not being that worried. I think I would have worried about it more if I hadn't seen them, but we must have seen them. And then we pulled up and we slept for about 6 hours. Set up our tent, slept, and then got up really early and actually got eyeballs on them early that morning. And then they left, they were gone. And I think we just like made a huge breakfast with all that flour we had. We made ginormous pancakes or something, and like just chilled out. And we were so tired. And late morning, and I think we made it about 110K at this point.
Wow.
And the students I think their plan was to book it as far as they could and just chill out. Like, I'm pretty sure that was their plan, because they went further than they said they were going to go, and they were gone. And anyway, so.
Were they all the student groups, all the students together, or were there a couple of groups on them?
There was 2 groups.
Okay.
But I think they ended up paddling together.
Okay.
Because as that morning rolled on, a huge headwind kicked in. To the point where we're paddling our raft on a river that's going 10 kilometers an hour downstream, and we're going upstream.
Right.
That's
never a good situation.
Never good. So we're like, oh, wow. And we were paddling as hard as we could with this raft that we built, and we're stubborn. We're like, we're not getting rid of this raft. This wind is going to die down, and we're going to chill out again on it. And we're like, yeah. Right. And we're going downstream, and at this point, we can't even paddle downstream anymore. We decide to pull over to the side, and we were like, okay, we're going to walk. So we had to walk downstream.
Wow.
And we couldn't keep our raft off the shore as we're walking downstream. We're like constantly having to kick it out and push it out. We ended up rigging up like 2 throw bags to the back of like Mark Holloway's rescue, like PFD, and we had the rope on the back of the canoes, pulling it out. So basically held it on a ferry angle while we walked downstream, like people on the front and back trying to keep the boats going downstream.
Wow.
We go as far as we could on one shore, ferry across to the other side, as far as we could on the other shore, to the point
that is commitment. I've been on a couple of rivers with some massive headwinds, and we definitely didn't do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had to get downstream to our pickup. We're like,
right.
Who knows how long this wind is going to take.
Do you think the students are actually going to be doing this as well? Or what do you think they're doing at this point?
So we were like, oh, we didn't really know. We were like, oh, wow. Like, hopefully they actually really did book it and didn't have to worry about it too much. Or we didn't really know. We were like, if we don't see them soon, like they must have just kept going, which is good. A good thing in the end. And so I think at one point at the end of that day, we're like, the wind didn't break. It blew all night long. Wow. Like all night long. So we got up the next morning and we're like, we got to take this apart. So we took it apart and we were in boats and just like plowing downstream. I think we ended up walking 40 kilometers, we gathered.
No way. That's insane.
I know. And we didn't think we were going to make our pickup. Like we were like down to the hour, like trying to like so hard paddling downstream. But we got there and the kids were all there, all waiting for us, super happy.
No big deal.
They booked it all the way down there and didn't get hardly any of the wind. And they were just waiting for us. And we were covered in like, because the sand up there is super black, it's super
Yeah.
dark sand and dark. And the wind was throwing it all over us. So we're just dirty and mangled. Like our relaxed float trip down the Peel River turned into like 40-kilometer hike. It's like we were mangled.
Oh man! Did you get any chance to do paperwork at that point? Because you're supposed to do a lot of paperwork on that while the students go on their own.
I think Jeff Carty was the CL, so and paperwork is his totally favorite thing to do, as you'll know, not at all. So I don't even know what happened in paperwork. I think it all got done in town while we were like, or it's a 2-day drive back, so I think it probably a lot of it probably came to
the campground the first night on the drive. Oh man!
But it turned into it was a big adventure. I'd say that's like the epitome of an adventure right there.
Walking downstream.
Yeah.
And not through rapids.
No, and thank goodness for that food. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah. You never saw them after, did
you? No. Like, that was awesome.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, before we finish up here, let's, we've already had one NOLS couple on, or one half of a NOLS couple, Matt Dynas, and folks have been really enjoying that. Love a good NOLS love story. Just share us a little bit about your story, how you and your husband Steve met in your IC, and just kind of how your relationship blossomed in relation to kind of working for NOLS.
Yeah, totally. I love it, actually. So I remember meeting him and thinking like I'm a bit of an extrovert and he's a bit of an introvert. So I was like, man, this guy doesn't talk. Like, what is he thinking all the time? And I remember doing the NODO's leadership styles or whatever. And we were in, I remember landing in, of course, like the talkative, I can't remember all the names of
Spontaneous motivator.
Yeah. That's it. You gotta remember it the other day. And I'm like, and that's also me. I can't remember that stuff. I'm like, whatever. So I'm a spontaneous motivator and he's the opposite corner. He's like the analyst architect.
The analytics, the analyst.
That guy drives me crazy. Like he gets on my patience. He takes forever for him to get a thought out of his brain.
Make a decision.
But when he actually did talk, it was awesome. Like it was like, whoa, he's like, that's well thought out. And anyway, we leave our IC and I think the hilarious like part about it that he would say and make fun of me of is like I had like an ex-boyfriend drop me off at my IC and like my current boyfriend picked me up, who like Jeff Carty I used to date back then, from my IC, and then I met my husband on my IC, which is like kind of like this hilarious.
A lot of boys going on there.
It was super funny. Anyway, and that was a high school sweetheart. It wasn't even like the one that dropped me off. He was just a good friend. So, but we just say it that way because it's kind of funny.
Right.
Anyway, so we went our separate ways, and he's working for the St. Lawrence University program back in New York State, where we ended up working. And it's like a semester abroad program where you're living and working in a yurt village in the Adirondacks. And he recruited me to work there for my canoeing skills.
Right.
So to speak. And so I got the job and started working there with him. And that's really like where we fell in love, was in a yurt village
with the boss
in the Adirondacks. And then, so we'd spend half the year there and the other half of the year in the Tetons. So living and working for NOLS and a few other places. So he did some of the backcountry ski trips and we worked one together. And then I would go off to NOLS India and spend a bunch of time over there too with Kate Coons and come back, and we'd spend half the year out west and half the year back east. And and then now we have 2 boys that are running around having adventures with us. So
that's awesome. And you've been doing lots of camping with them, I hear. And they don't have any choice at this stage.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think when COVID hit last year, we're like, that's it. We're going on a 2-week canoe trip. We're out of here. Safest place to be. So we up and loaded, and we're doing the same thing again this summer, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, that's really cool. That's a neat story. And you brought the American, your husband, back to Canada, and
totally. And
now he's working for the federal government. Who knew?
Yeah, I know. Totally. I remember even saying to myself, like, don't fall in love with an American and get really complicated. It's been totally awesome, though. It's been so great. I've had one kid born in the capital of Canada and one kid born in the capital of the US. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Got it all covered.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Marianne, this has been a real pleasure. This has been a real treat. I really appreciate you taking some time to come on and share some stories.
Yeah, you too. It's been awesome. Remembering all these awesome memories and triggering my memory. I've been like, Steve, what happened on that trip? Do you remember?
Yeah, you don't think about it. You got to write a few notes to jog that memory.
Yeah, and then the kids are listening and they're like, tell me that story. Tell me that story. I'm like,
See,
oh, yeah.
that's it. You gotta start telling stories to your kids.